Hello everybody, welcome back to the next episode of All the Mods 8. So last episode, we got ourselves set up with the piglitches here, and we have our drigmies, which are doing a good job farming these guys for his drops. This is a spruce diamond barrel from Sophisticated Storage, and I think it did actually have a texture change in one of the updates since I last played. As well as our path here seems to be a little glitched out. Something with the rechiseled mod didn't quite update properly or something. I'm not 100% sure. So I noticed that the path here is a little messy. And then also in here, we have some of the wooden floor in here is a little messy. So I'll probably go ahead and swap this out with something different just so that we have a nicer floor to look at, because that is not necessarily the most pleasant thing to look at. Anyway, we did a pretty good job here getting ourselves these drigmies, and we have a good amount of piglet shards coming in, which is fantastic. We need a bunch of these for creating all the different alloy blocks. In terms of the All the Mods Star, we only really need the awakened unobtainium vibranium, as well as the unobtainium all the modium. So those are the two alloy blocks we need. That's this block right here. But once we have this block, we have to go ahead further and make it the awakened version by using the awakening from Mystical Agriculture. So we're going to have to go ahead and do that at some point as well. This is a good start. So we have 12, and this thing is just constantly generating some in the background. And this should be no problem at all. We have plenty of source here for these guys to use, and they are doing their thing, dancing and having a grand old time. But moving on from that, I was informed in the Discord actually that the amount of nether stars that we're going to need for the ATM Star is actually significantly more than I first calculated. I did a little bit of incorrect math, I guess. It's actually closer to 100,000 nether stars. And if you look at the star count, we only have 4.8 thousand stars. So at this rate, that is going to take an awfully long time. Thankfully, we do have hopefully some other ways to generate nether stars. But what we can also do is we can go ahead and take some of these simulators and go ahead and put some more in these walls to speed up the process. Now, one thing I'm noticing is these guys aren't getting more prediction matrices. So I can craft them. We have plenty of glass. How about we doing in clay? The requester is a little slow. You have to upgrade higher tiers of requesters. So maybe we'll go ahead and do that actually. That might not be a terrible idea. So let's go ahead and put the requester on autocraft. We don't have the crafting upgrades. Oh, we have these, and we should have that. And now we can go ahead and autocraft all the different tiers of requesters up to the highest tier. But I think just for now, we are just going to go ahead and make an ultra. There we go. Let's go ahead and break this, actually. And we'll put in the new one like so, which hopefully speed up the process at which these get requested. And now we hopefully will see these starting to come in. One thing I have noticed that I think I'm going to change is that it seems that all of these simulation chambers can be supported by one, maybe two of these loot fabricators. So even though it does look nice and symmetrical, it's really not necessary to have this many loot fabricators for this many simulation chambers. Realistically, if we had one for every 3, we would be totally fine. So what I think we're going to do is I'm going to make the entire wall the simulation chambers. So if this 3x3, and then I'm going to have a corresponding one loot fabricator in the corner here for all 3 of these on each wall. That will hopefully then increase the amount of simulation chambers we can pump in here, but then we'll also reduce the amount of loot fabricators we're going to need, because it's a little bit overkill for what we're actually producing loot-wise. Okay, so I have this corner here set up nicely. I only have enough of the wither models for 8 of these 9, and then I need also to get 9 more for over here to have this thing basically entirely running wither data models. I have with me enough to make 10 wither data models, and I'm going to have to go fight the wither again a bunch of times. And what I'm hoping that I can do is set up a couple of these deep learners to have the wither models train out of. Now, I think you have to have the wither models in the deep learner to properly work. So I'm hoping that if I have like 3 of these guys, then if I put all 4 into each 3, I can do up to 12 withers at a time. I'm not sure if that's actually going to work, but what I'm going to end up doing now is taking these data models. We're going to right click and hopefully I can put all of these into here like so. Now I have one set up. Let's see if I can do that with the other ones as well. Okay, so effectively we have 3 deep learners. So this should hopefully, now that we've killed him, did these actually improve? Oh yeah, they all improved. That is awesome. Okay, so that is really good to know. I'm going to take advantage of that by going ahead and making a bunch of deep learners. So anyway, I'm just going to go ahead and get a whole bunch of these weather models trained up, and we're going to go slap them back into the simulation chambers. And while I'm in between here, just finishing up with the weather here, I was taking a look at the new quest book. There are some updated areas here that really expand upon some of the late game stuff that might be a little unclear for some first time players. And what I love about this section here is it shows you exactly how to do a lot of the late game mechanism generators for power and the steam turbines and for antimatter. I think that's really cool. Also, they did the same thing with Power. You come here, they have a whole new quest tab for Power, and if you look here, it actually tells you all about the energizing orb and how to actually use the energizing orb to create all the materials. And I think that's a really nice thing they've added here, just to kind of explain some of the stuff that might be a little bit more complicated to people playing through this pack if they haven't played with it before. Okay, so we have all of these deep learners that have the advanced wither models in them. So that's really good. We should be able to now just go back home. Now, I have more than I'm going to need for right now, and I'm not planning on setting up more than this wall right now. That's not what I wanted to focus on this episode. I just wanted to boost our production of stars slowly so that we got closer to the amount we're going to need by the time we get to crafting the ATM Star. The next thing I think I want to do today is I want to get all of the mechanical crafters from Create setup that we're going to need to use to make the final ATM Star. Now, we're nowhere near ready to actually craft the star, but I think having this actually up and just able to see it will help us kind of stay focused on the goal and just kind of give us a bit of that extra motivation we might need. I think what we're going to do is we're just going to go ahead and set up the ATM Star crafting section right here on the on the peninsula here on the island, just out front. Probably bring the path around here at some point and maybe make a nice little area, but eventually this is where we're going to go and craft the ATM Star, looking out at our beautiful spot here on the ocean. So that's the goal. That is the long-term goal. But I'm going to have to use some of this brass that I have to go ahead and craft up these crafters. Now, the crafters themselves, I believe, they come in packs of 3. If I type in crafter here, yeah, packs of 3. So this is all really easy. The only thing that I'm actually going to need is to make some of this rose quartz, and the rose quartz is pretty cheap. I don't think I don't have any of this. We're probably going to need a bunch. So let's just go ahead and make a stack of it. I don't know if that's kind of overkill, but we're also going to need some sandpaper, because the sandpaper is what we actually need to turn this into the polished versions. And I think you just put it in your offhand like this, and you hold the sandpaper, and that should effectively go ahead and do all the sanding for us. Now I'm going to have to stand here and do the whole stack of these. Okay, we're going to stop there. We're going to stop at 32. I'm pretty sure that's actually more than we need because they do come in packs of 3. So we're actually going to need some iron plates as well. And that is enough plates, I believe, to craft the electron tube. This electron tube, in combination with the brass casings, which we have just right here, and we just need some crafting tables. Make a stack of those, because that's where it is. And we need, I believe, 55 mechanical crafters to complete the ATM Star. So there we go. That is 55. I will just double check that to make sure that is correct. Yep, 55. And the shape itself is kind of strange. It's I'm going to have to kind of do this bit by bit. But essentially what we do want is all of the star leading into one central point. To signify this, I just want to first off have a just a barrel as to where we are going to have the ATM Star come to at a point, probably somewhere right here. The even number grass behind me is annoying. So now if we go ahead and take a look at this recipe, I'm going to actually just bookmark the ATM Star for a second, just to make this a little easier. So if we have something like the star's there, spot, and then 1, 2, 3, like this, and we want to do this on both sides. We then do that again, but we 4 instead. So we're going to go like this. You can use the wrench from Create to change the direction of the arrow, like where the crafters are going to craft to. So we want these all to eventually be pointing into the center, where we're actually going to craft the star. Now the barrel where it's actually going to be sitting, it's actually going to have to be 1 up from here, right there. So all of this is going to come right to there, just like so. But yeah, we just need to go then all the way across like this. I don't know why they're placing like this. But we can just go ahead and place like that. Maybe it's because I'm holding shift. I don't think you have to hold shift. So that's probably part of it. Anyway, we want these to all be turned up. And 7 and 9. This, all down 7 and again. 9. So we have 13 left. So we go 1 more 9, 3, 1. 1 more 9, and then 3, and 1. And that is where we are going to be crafting the final ATM Star. Beautiful. We actually have to power this thing. This doesn't just auto craft by itself. This is actually going to require us to give it some rotational force. And the easiest way that I think we're going to be able to do that is by making a windmill from Create. To make a windmill, you need to first craft a windmill bearing, which just is a slab, stone, and shaft, like this. And you are going to need a bunch of the windmill sails. Now, the sails themselves, I believe, can be made just by using some of this alloy. I'm actually going to craft a bunch of it. I think gives you a little advancement there, it looks like. But you can actually use them then to craft the sails. So if I come in here and see what can we craft, I only have white wool right now. I actually don't have a lot of it at all. Do I have any string? I do have a bunch of strings. Let's go ahead and make maybe a stack of wool. And we are going to need to make some sails. Now, I believe the max size windmill you can make is 2 stacks of sails. I'm going to go ahead and start with 1. But what I want to do is effectively create a windmill that is standing upright right beside this mechanical crafter. And then I want to run the power down here. And because all of these guys are connected up, these crafters, they'll all power each other. So all you have to do is power one of them, and they should all kind of power each other very seamlessly. And that can be done just through here by using a cog wheel. If I want to come in here and type cog, we can go ahead and just place down 3 cog wheels like so. I have to rotate them, obviously. It's not letting me place them. There we go. There we go. So that should be good. Now all we have to do is power this middle one, and we should be all set. The way I want to do that is I want to then run a shaft a little farther away from this, like so. We are going to need to make a gear box. We're also going to need some andesite casing, which is the same as the brass casing. You just have to apply a andesite alloy to stripped logs, like so. All we have to do is place in here with some cog wheels, and we get a gearbox. I actually want the vertical gearbox, so what I'm going to actually do is take the windmill bearing, I should say. We're going to put it down like so. Actually, we're going to put it down one more, like higher, like that. And now that actually is going to be powering this vertical gearbox here. I left myself a little extra space because I wasn't sure what I wanted the windmill to look like. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a log. I want to use some of the, I don't know, maybe some cherry logs. We're already kind of in this area. Might as well use some cherry. And we can go ahead and attach our windmills to this center shaft of the windmill bearing. And you'll see this thing start to work after I go ahead and put these down. Okay, so for example here, I have not all the sails on yet, but that's okay. If I right-click this windmill bearing, this should start to spin. Oh, I just realized I didn't actually need all of these. You only need actually one to connect the entire windmill together, like so. If you want to have a longer shaft for the windmill sail, you can just use some super glue to glue it all together. But I think one is fine, actually. I forgot that that was the thing. But yeah, that actually gave us some power, and it does appear that all of these are rotating very, very slowly. So this is not going to be a very fast setup. I can add a couple of more of these sails though, because we do have a few extras. So let's go ahead and add some more on the sides, and this will help to speed it up. There are better ways to generate rotational force in the Create mod, and I would love to get into that at some point, but unfortunately with this pack, Create actually isn't a huge part of the pack. You really only need it for the mechanical crafters at the end, and that's about it. You can use it for other resource generation, but there's no like required item from Create for the All the Mod Star in my, if I'm remembering correctly. A bit unfortunate because it is a super fun mod to dive into, and I plan on doing that in future series for sure. But as of now, we're just going to go ahead and use it for this purpose. Let's go ahead and try there. That is not the max still. Let's go ahead and turn this off. I'm going to go and grab another stack of sails because I do want to kind of max this thing out just for fun. I mean, you might as well, right? So we just go ahead and make a few more sails. There we go. Fortunately, I should have actually dropped this one lower based on my design. Vertical gearbox, and then I want to make another vertical gearbox. So I might actually do something a little different down here as opposed to just shafts. I might run some, they're called chain drives, encased chain drives. There we go. Go ahead and make a couple of these, just like this. And these are kind of cool. They kind of act similarly to shafts where they keep the directional power going into one. They preserve it along the entire direction. So if I start this like this, and that's going quite fast, you'll see that these are all rotating in the same direction. I am going to do it on both sides, even though it really doesn't matter, because once it powers on one, it'll power the entire thing. Now we can actually use the encased chain drives to go vertically as well. So in case you were wanting to dive a little more into the mod, I'll show you what you can do with these really quickly. You can now attach these like so, and this will actually transmit them vertically as well. If we grab some andesite casing, we can also cover up the shafts because they're kind of ugly, so we can just right-click them, and it actually doesn't use the andesite casing. It just covers it up, kind of like a facade from Refined Storage, so it's kind of cool. Anyway, if we go ahead and turn this thing on, after I maybe facade this thing as well, there we go. We have a fully functioning windmill, which is powering our ATM Star crafting setup. But I am going to turn it off in the meanwhile while we're not using it because it does cause a little bit of lag because of it's just a moving, rotating piece. And we will turn that back on when we are ready to start crafting the ATM Star. We are at the point now where we can actually add one thing to the star that we already have kind of completed, and that is the unobtainium allthemodium blocks. Now, you can make them using Botania, using the terrestrial agglomeration plate, but I think what we're going to want to do is use the energizing orb, which takes 8.1 billion FE to craft one of these blocks. So we might have a bit of a problem with power if we're not careful. But the piglich heart is something that I do want to make use of now that we have them being farmed over here. And speaking of which, how many do we have up to now? 59. So, it appears that our piglich have died. Oh, did they despawn? No, they despawned. Oh, you gotta name tag them, don't you? Shoot. I have 8 name tags. That is annoying. Do I have any more pigliches? I have witches. Oh, I do have some. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 4. Okay, well, we're gonna have to make do with 4 for now. But that's unfortunate. Don't forget to name your hostile mobs. Frustrating. Big. All right, so we have 4 of them in there, which is unfortunate because I think they would get farmed more if I had more of them, but I really don't want to go back to get more right now and find another area to buy or to get more. So we'll have to make do with 4 for now. But let's go ahead and see how many piglet. We can have 18 piglet hearts. I'm just going to come down here and do this manually. I really don't know how long this is going to take. So let's go ahead and put 1, 2, 3. That is going exceptionally slow. We are only at 100 million, 1%. We're at 1% right now. How are we doing power-wise? We are draining this guy's buffer quite quick. Hopefully, we have enough energy throughput to sustain this. Let's go make a crafting recipe for this block. Now we can craft these things kind of on demand when we want to. We might not want to run these all the time, so we'll go ahead and put this in here. That's great. These are going to be now very easy to make more of. It's a tiny bit slow, but it's not meant to be fast considering it's one of the more expensive parts of the pack. But I do think I do want to try and get one of these done today. And the one that I actually have that I'm able to do right now is the Master of Creation. This is actually a very easy recipe, considering how much inferium and insanium we have now. It's actually pretty trivial. So if you look here, we have 1.3 thousand insanium essence, which that might not sound like a lot to some people, but if you know how much that costs, that is a absolutely ridiculous amount of insanium and inferium. All we have to do, I think, is add, there we go. We just need a bunch of these blocks. I think just 36. And then a master infusion crystal, which is also very, very cheap. Put 4 of these blocks here, and that is the creative essence. That is amazing. So we have fully completed one of these creative tabs, and we got ourselves a pedestal with the Master of Creation as a reward. So we're going to go ahead and put that down right here like so. Put that on top there for a display. Very cool. And we get an epic reward. What do we get? A lucky scarf. Cool, I guess. That gives us 1 extra level of fortune to the blocks we mine, which is very cool. But yeah, we have completed one of these tabs for the All the Mods Star. Now, a lot of these other ones are much more complicated. This one is actually quite easy. All it requires is mystical agriculture. We can put this creative essence right on the star, just to say we have part of the star done. Even though we're realistically very far away, we can at least have a little bit of encouragement and put it in its spot. I believe is right there. We do have our first alloy block here. Now, I do want to set this to extract. So let's go ahead and add that to the list of things to extract. I'm going to have to grab it first, though. But then we can slowly start chipping away at adding these to the star. And I believe these go on the edges, correct? We can go ahead and start like that. But I think that's where I want to wrap up today's episode. Thank you very much for watching, everybody. If you did enjoy it, please leave a like. Feel free to comment and subscribe to the channel. Also, if you don't want to miss any information on when I'm going to be uploading next, I tend to post quite a bit about that on Discord. So if you do want to keep up to date on what's going on and when my next upload is coming out and see some sneak peeks on what it's going to be about, then head on over to Discord and join the community. But that's going to do it for me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye.